Okay.
Hi everyone, all two of you. Thank you very much for coming. Nice to meet you.
I can't see the two people.
So as our host kindly mentioned, we're going to chat around drone detection and what that looks like in the UK festival market at the moment. So just very briefly, just like to introduce the panel. So if you guys could just give us a bit of an update in terms of who you are and what it is you do, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, cheers, Craig. My name's Paul Ashurst. I'm the events director at Bournemouth 7's Festival.
Yeah, I'm Suja Kerr. I look after partnerships at Houndstooth Wireless, and we provide drone detection technology to the perimeter security industry.
Perfect, thanks very much. So Paul, if you could just talk to us very briefly about Bournemouth 7's, what it is, where it is, and how long has it been going on for?
Yeah, so Bournemouth 7's Festival is a sport and music festival that's held in Bournemouth. Basically, essentially what makes us unique is that we do sport in the day, 5 different sports. We do rugby, netball, hockey, dodgeball and volleyball. Essentially it's sport in the day, and then we do a traditional festival within the evening, so music, festival arenas, live bands, DJs, that sort of thing. And we've been going for 13 years now, just going 13 years, independently owned and an independent festival which we're really proud of.
Perfect, thank you. So just kind of talking more specifically about drones, which is what we're here to talk about today. Suja, if you could kind of give us a bit of an insight into the potential reasons that event organisers would need to know where drones are and their impact on kind of events more generally.
Yeah, and I think so the whole drone detection within the event sector is part and parcel of a security offering. So in terms of threats posed by unauthorized drones can come in kind of several different ways. But if I kind of think about 3 that are most relevant to the event sector, the first and foremost would be in terms of public safety of crowds. So that can be anything from accidental collisions from drones dropping out of the sky, which happens when they fail to connect with a controller, or it could be, we hope this doesn't happen very often at all, it could be about malicious threats by drones that might be carrying weapons. The second area that's really relevant to events is perimeter security. So this could be, probably most relevant, is about smuggling in, particularly of smuggling in of weapons, but possibly more frequently would be the smuggling in of drugs. But you can also have incidences of smuggling out, whether it be wristbands to secure entry for unpaid ways, or whether it be smuggling out items that might have been stolen, like mobile phones. And the third part, which I think lots of events would be particularly interested in, is unauthorized filming. So we're talking about infringement of private and personal footage and space. So it's particularly, I think, for B7's would have been regarding the VIP suites and areas, so paparazzi really. And the second one is infringement of media rights. So something that you're putting on as a festival being videoed and streamed without being paid for that content.
Perfect, amazing, thank you. And Paul, are there any kind of specific reasons that Bournemouth 7's as a festival was interested in exploring drone technology, and any examples where it was relevant from previous experiences?
Yeah, no, of course. So the main reason for us is that we're right next to an airport, would you believe it? So within a stone's throw away, literally so close to an airport, and part of our building that relationship with the airport was just to make sure that we're doing all that we can and ensuring that the relationship is as good as it possibly can be. And then another reason was the year before that we actually had a lot of hobby drones at our event. Now, because of the sports side of it particularly, we have elite celebrities play across rugby and netball particularly, and obviously that attracts attention, and our customers want to make sure that they want to try and get the best possible shot, and we actually saw some hobby drones across the site the year before, which is why we worked with Suja at Houndstooth. So yeah, they were the main 2 reasons for us.
Perfect, thanks very much. So having kind of explored the potential risks to an event in general terms, what have Houndstooth Wireless, who you're kind of here representing today, what have you kind of created to resolve those issues?
Okay, So what we have is that we have a solution, and it's called drone X-ray. It doesn't necessarily X-ray as such, but what it does do is it detects the radio frequency waves emitted by not only the drones but also the controllers. So you can locate the controllers and the drones. In addition to identifying or kind of detecting them, it can also identify the model and make of the controllers and the drones. So that's actually quite useful for events because it can distinguish between worker drones, because lots of events would have surveillance drones. So if you know the ID of your worker drones, that wouldn't be alerted, but it's the unauthorized drones that would be alerted. It also sends an alert to security personnel, and that's often probably the most convenient way is as a text or as a web link. Because drone X-ray also locates on a map where that controller and that drone has been detected. So the alert can be sent to security personnel who can then be deployed to that site to investigate further. And really, what's really unique about our solution is it's low footprint. So not only is it low in terms of hardware costs, it's low in terms of physical size. It's about a lunchbox size, really. So it doesn't intrude in terms of the physical space. But most importantly, for events, which are one-off often, it's low power consumption. So you don't need specific heavy-duty cabling for it to work.
Yeah, perfect. And kind of what requirements are there for the system in terms of when you're engaging with event organisers such as Paul, looking at how the system can kind of come together? How does that work? What's the engagement process like before an event?
Yeah, so that's really nice actually. So if we can just if I can talk you through how we engaged with Bournemouth 7's, that would work really, really well. So we work at the very beginning in terms of the planning stage with the event. So we visited and met with the team, and we did really it's a site reconnaissance type survey, first to establish what the needs are for the event, but also in terms of what the needs are, but also to really kind of locate the optimal positions to place the nodes. So I don't know if we can go back to the slide before. Thank you. So what we noticed was there's a clubhouse that you have, and then we located the two images that we've got at the top and the bottom are two nodes on two poles at either side of the clubhouse, which then gives really, really good coverage. In the north, it would give coverage to the events area, and in the south, it gave good coverage for the camping area. So that's done, and then we can roll to the next one. Thank you. So in terms of specific specifications, aside from what we've said, it's this idea of just having power over Ethernet, so which we can provide as an organisation, or we could use Bournemouth 7's.
Okay, amazing. And I guess kind of then thinking more specifically about the event as a whole, Paul, what kind of things are put in place to manage safety and security of the people at the event in general terms? How did kind of drone detection sort of fit into that? And what are what sort of people at the event are you trying to look after, be that staff or attendees or whatever?
Yeah, of course. So just as like any event organiser, safety of our customers and our staff and everyone on that site is number one. It's our paramount, and we do loads of stuff. So everything in our pre-event planning, in terms of everything gets written into our event management plan, then that gets brought to a safety advisory group, which is essentially, in short, key people regards to key safety people with regards to the event itself that sit there and they review and put their opinions across based on your event management plan, which the stuff that the drone detection stuff was they're in there this year. They review that, and then we then implement that at the event. And in terms of other bits outside of that, we obviously put in, as Suja said, is the internet network, which is key in terms of CCTV. We have a multi-agency control room, which is essentially our eyes of the sky. I mean, the equipment and the setup that they had this year was absolutely amazing. I walked in there and I was blown away. We also have on-site scanners that require all those bits of technology, but essentially, our control room, our multi-agency control room is how we control the safety of our event. It's our eye in the sky controls everything, and that's where different people from medical, security, web and police can then talk to each other and be reactive as possible across if anything needs to happen at the event, such as Suja mentions. If there was an unauthorised drone, for example, then we could then be reactive for that. And it all happens within that multi-agency control room. So.
Yeah. So it's really it was really an integrated.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Suja. I guess for you guys, it's about enhancing and working with the systems that are already in place rather than trying to create something that's brand new. There are a few examples when we worked together this year around integrating with systems and providers that were already on site. Would you say that's really the kind of the best way, I guess, to engage with an event in general terms?
Absolutely. So it's about making events security more seamless. And it's about, in terms of our system, it's easily integrable into the security system that would exist at B7's anyway. And it's about working as a team, with the other modes of monitoring to secure a safe experience for visitors.
Exactly that, and I think it's that relationship is key, and I think it was absolutely flawless from our experience this year, and it was just felt like it was we've been working together for years, and it was very well suited, which is a credit to you and to your team and everyone that implemented it, and a credit to the infrastructure that we already had in place. They worked hand in hand, which is great.
Yeah, perfect. So kind of just hopping back into kind of what we were talking about, drones specifically, were there any incidents of drones happening or being spotted at the festival this year? And what did that look like in terms of how that was reported back into the event organisers and the safety kind of operation as a whole?
It's a really, really interesting question. I think Bournemouth 7's is quite unique in terms of location because it's located next to Bournemouth Airport. So we did have 2 or 3 small detections. So when I say small, I mean short-lived detections of controllers. And that's quite characteristic of the location because what would have happened is somebody would have turned on a consumer or hobbyist drone on a handset. They would have turned on the controller and they would have had a screen that says, alert, it's geofenced. It's a no-fly exclusion zone, so they would have immediately turned that off. But as soon as that happened, we were notified with an SMS message, a location was sent, and the security were deployed on foot to go and investigate. So it's, in other events, it would be more susceptible because you wouldn't have that geofencing protection for those events. But Bournemouth 7's are very lucky to have that already built into drones.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's absolutely the right point. And we are unique because we are literally so close to an airport. I don't know if you want to touch on if we weren't next to an airport for an event or a festival that size, how exactly would that work?
Absolutely. So if the airport didn't exist there, even if the event had a no drone policy, the chances are drones could be flown in from the outside. So in terms of our drone detection system, it can detect on a good, if conditions are perfect, drones and controllers a kilometre away from the actual perimeter. And so we're talking about early intervention. So as soon as a drone is detected, it can be located, it can be alerted, and security personnel can go outside of that perimeter to have a discussion, because actually it could just be just a group of people having a fun time without knowing the legal consequences of what they are doing.
And I think just kind of talking in general terms, it was a really good test bed for the kind of the software, and I think as event organisers we were really reassured to know that we had that early visibility of the system, and I think it's something that will certainly become much more kind of wider adopted across the sector. So I guess kind of the last question really kind of specifically around this is what kind of plans do you have for the system moving forwards? What's the kind of development piece for you as a business? Obviously going from a kind of startup with an amazing idea and developing that moving forwards.
Yeah, and I think in terms of Houndstooth, what we'd like to do is engage more with events and security providers, particularly providers who would provide an integrated security package. So rather than us being a bolt-on or as a standalone, we're saying that as an event, if you're considering CCTV cameras on the perimeter, a natural progression would be also to consider drone detection and kind of have our example to kind of have a pathway forward as to how that can work, and it would, as a partnership to again secure crowds.
Amazing. So kind of just kind of like to wrap up really talking about technology in kind of general terms. So looking at the event sector specifically, and probably one for kind of Paul to start with, what kind of developments do you see happening in events technology and the way that it's kind of moving in terms of how important it is to event organisers to have an understanding of the technology portfolio in general?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's vitally important. I mean, I'm constantly amazed by the technology that is out there. For example, what Suja does with the drone detection and what their company does. But you only have to look around here and see amazing companies doing amazing things across the sector. I mean, I think as an event organizer, it's about understanding what the technology that's right for you and your event. And we're very, very different. We have sport and music, and we're right next to an airport. But we found a partner that worked really well. And it's just about across the whole board in terms of technology, what works for your event. We've used loads of different softwares or trialed loads of different softwares, and there's a lot out there, but it's just about finding what's right for you. Financially as well, we're an independent business. We have to make the bottom line work, and essentially sometimes tech is expensive, but it doesn't have to be all the time, and it's just about finding the one that's perfect for you and your event.
Yeah, I guess Suja, that you kind of you probably, when you're approaching event organisers, you're competing for a limited pot of funding. So I guess for you, it's the challenge of being able to say, actually, our technology is one of the technologies that you should invest in. Like there's a whole show here dedicated to technology. So how do you suggest that you would make yours kind of stand out as something that event organisers really need to kind of invest in general terms?
Okay, so that's a really good question. You're absolutely right. In terms of drone detection solutions, there aren't many of us out there that are marketing or are making our presence known to the event sector. And I think this experience with Bournemouth 7's as a case is really, really valuable to say, this is where it's worked, and it's worked in quite sensitive areas where drones could be catastrophic. We're talking about airports being shut down. For us, it's again echo Paul's point. It's not about forcing an event to believe that they have a need for drone detection, but it's actually saying, having that dialogue to say, given your previous experiences, is drone misuse or the presence of drones a potential threat for you? If it is, this is a solution that could be used. It's low footprint, so you're not having to invest huge amounts. It's not intrusive. It's as simple as putting in place CCTV cameras within your perimeter to actually secure not just the physical boundaries on the ground, but your what we call a safe sky domain. So it's really, again, echoing Paul's point, what's right for you? Because if drones aren't an issue, or you feel it's never going to be, then it's not a fit. But it's about us saying we have a solution, it's worked, and it is about that low footprint.
And it's very easy to use.
Absolutely.
Surprisingly, sometimes you think, it's naturally difficult or going to be problematic, but actually it's so simple with the infrastructure that we already had on site. So credit to you guys, and it really can be that as simple as that, really.
Yes.
So one of our guests listening to us today obviously mentioned to you in advance that this is much more prominent in the US currently, and I guess the kind of question is really, do you kind of envisage a situation in the future where it may be that there's a requirement for drone detection software as part of, for instance, an event's license, or as a license condition, in the same way that CCTV is so our premises license has a requirement for CCTV? Could there be a way in the future that the same applies to drone detection software, in your opinion?
Yeah, really interesting, because I think that came out from a conversation with Parker here, a member of the audience, who says that in the States there is a legal requirement for events to have drone detection in place. So again, often if we look to other nations, it's something that's obviously going to be coming our way. Yes. And again, I think it's less about the technology and more about how our society is evolving and how more prominent events are becoming. And if you look at the data in terms of sales of drones and also police incidences reported to drones, what you see is it's an exponential curve. So there is that need, and it's about trying to alleviate that threat to ensure a secure event for our guests.
Nice, amazing. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us through lunch. I think that was really very much appreciated. If you kind of want to come and chat to us about kind of drone detection or technology in the kind of festival sector, then do just pop up and see us at the end. I've been given the nudge that we need to finish up. So thank you very much for coming to watch us and for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much.